Hey guys, Tony here, and I'm back to do another edition of my vinyl collection's must-haves. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I've just finding the time. I've made a lot of videos just in my recent finds. Um, so a little while back, I made a video, a shorter video, one video, showing my entire Neil Young collection. That was a couple of weeks ago. I sent it to a website called Thrasher's Wheat, which is a Neil Young news website blog. Probably the greatest Neil Young fan site blog, at least in my opinion. Great stuff. And I've been a regular on that website for a long time now. So I sent the guy who runs the site, his handle's Thrasher, and I sent him the video, and he was kind enough to post it for me. So he asked me to talk a little bit more about the album Tonight's the Night, which you might be able to hear in the background. So I figured I'd just do another edition of my vinyl collection must-haves. Remember that this is, in my opinion, I can only speak for myself, in my opinion, must-haves for my collection. But if you ask me, any collection worth its salt should have a copy of Tonight's the Night. Neil Young's, I want to say, I don't know, 7th, 8th album? I could be wrong. Also, I'm just speaking off the top of my head, so if I leave out anything important or get anything wrong, feel free to correct me. Okay, so Tonight's the Night, probably one of Neil's greatest artistic expressions, in my opinion. This is part of what's called the Ditch Trilogy, which is 3 albums released in succession. Basically, I guess you could say while Neil was kind of in a funk, not a funk creatively, that's for sure, but a funk where he had lost a number of friends due to drugs, and it was just a really intense period for him, which is, what we kind of look at it as. It seems like an intense period when you look at his output creatively. First in this was after Harvest, he went out on a big tour, and the tour went really bad. He had a bad feeling about the whole thing because Crazy Horse guitarist Danny Whitten had just died, and he was supposedly going to be in that band, and he passed away during rehearsals for that. Neil had to fire him, gave him money for a ticket back to, I guess, L.A., and later that same day, Neil received a phone call saying that that Danny had passed away, OD'd on drugs. So that's just kind of how the tour started. From that tour, he put out Time Fades Away, which to us fans is a fantastic album, but to this day, Neil has still not released it on CD. After that, the remaining members of Crazy Horse, Billy and Ralph, they called up Neil and said, hey, we're still here, So Neil decided to put together a band with those 2 guys from Crazy Horse, but also Ben Keith and Niels Lofgren, who was very young at the time, and Neil had kind of befriended him. They met backstage at a show while Neil was on tour. And he had played on After the Gold Rush. Anyway, so Neil wanted to create a raw album, really rough. So and also, one more thing, another person close to Neil, Bruce Berry, who was a roadie, and I guess kind of close to Neil. He was a roadie basically for Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, and basically developed a drug habit, and had basically stolen band members' guitars and pawned them for drugs, and well, he had passed away. So they decided to go into Studio Instrument Rentals, or SIR, which was actually owned by Bruce Berry's brother, I want to say. So what they did was they went there to record. They punched a hole in the wall. It's like a legendary story if you've read the book Shaky. Like, they punched a hole in the wall ran wires and had a recording truck, I think, right there, and recorded the album. The concept was for the band to basically, almost like what they called an Irish funeral, where they would get wasted and play their hearts out. And it was all about feeling, all about passion, and nothing about technical ability or being in the right key at sometimes and getting it perfect. It just wasn't about that. So basically, it was about the deaths of two friends that had died from drugs, and kind of that period too was the beginning of a dark period in the 70s where harder drugs were even more prevalent. So you can imagine the theme of this album. Fantastic. The entire album, from the packaging to the music, everything about it, is, I guess, meant to be somewhat decadent, in that the cover is so dark black that there was a problem at the printing presses because he used so much black ink. Also, the type of paper used, it's like a blotter paper almost. It absorbed all the ink, and it's also made to not age well. So it's kind of rare to come across a mint copy of an original Tonight's the Night. One of them I have is in better condition than the other. I have two originals, as I've pointed out. Fantastic album. Opens and closes with Tonight's the Night, where he basically name checks Bruce Berry in the song. Speaking Out. All these songs, in my opinion, are fantastic. This is definitely one of my favorites. It's hard to really pick a favorite. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd pick Rust Never Sleeps, but this is probably a close second. He also has a song by Danny Whitten, which Danny wrote and performs, and he put it on this Come On Baby, Let's Go Downtown, which ironically is about scoring drugs. Speak of the devil. But you also have Roll Another Number, Albuquerque, New Mama, Come On Baby, Let's Go Downtown, Mellow My Mind, Look Out Joe, Tired Eyes, and closes again with Tonight's the Night. Again, back to the packaging. Very dark, very bleak, a very confusing picture. It's like Neil in this room full of stuff, and he looks very small in there. And then again, a picture of the band. There's a story that Neil said his original idea was, or they weren't, for some reason they can't remember what was in an original unopened copy of this. Supposedly there was a packet of glitter set up so that when you open the album, glitter was going to fall all over the place. Nobody's ever found a bag of glitter. There were also supposedly cutouts from this tour, which was, again, one of Neil's most misunderstood tours. The stage was basically filled with junk, boots, all kinds of different boots hanging everywhere, and just a theme of, I guess the main thing was everything is cheaper than it looks, or maybe it's vice versa. Anyway, there's a old palm tree. I think this is the beginning of Neil having a wooden Indian on stage with him. Things like that. So just a really strange stage setup. So there's supposed to be boots, being a cutout of boots, like with Sgt. Pepper, little cutouts. I've never seen those either, nor have I ever seen evidence of them. What does come in this album, though, is, hold on, make sure I have the right copy. Alright, let me grab the other one. Only one of my copies has the original insert. They both have the original sleeve. If I can pull it out here. Just pictures of the band performing. You could see Neil here with the wooden Indian. The insert, though, is probably the most interesting thing, other than the music, of course. It's really funny. This album was recorded, I think, or released in 1973, or recorded in 1973. Recorded, I believe, in 1973, released in 1975. So this was recorded before On the Beach. But On the Beach came out first. This was shelved for 2 years because the record companies, I think, were just afraid of it. So here's the insert. This is the picture on the sleeve, the inner sleeve for On the Beach. Neil took that same picture and typed this story poem kind of thing called Florida on it, over all the song credits for the songs from On the Beach, which is very interesting. And then there's this picture of Roy Orbison down there, if you could see that. And then there's a letter on the other side addressed to Waterface, saying, "Hello, Waterface. Here it is. Welcome to Miami Beach. Everything is cheaper than it looks." And then he starts talking about the Santa Monica Flyer, the longest train around. And then it says, "Goodbye, Waterface." And it says, "Please take my advice." I think this also contains the line of, "I'm sorry, you don't know these people. This means nothing to you." And then you open it up. And there's a picture of a little boy walking, like a Huck Finn type character, with a fish. Maybe that's supposed to be Neil. There's pictures of him fishing as a child. And then it says this album is made for Danny Whitten and Bruce Berry, who lived and died for rock and roll. And then it goes into how it was recorded, where it was recorded, produced by the great David Briggs, who's no longer with us. And then you open the whole thing up, and it has a long story printed. And I believe it's all in Dutch. There is a website, and on Thrasher's Wheat, a translation of this whole article. I don't know if you can see through that. It might be too much of a glare. But here's the whole article in the insert opened up. There's the other side. Also, another way you can tell you have an original is on the record itself, in the dead wax, printed on there. Here's the record. This one is in really good condition. The label is black, which is another thing. Reprise's labels were not black, so it might have been special for this. It says "Hello, Waterface" on side A in the dead wax, and then it says "Goodbye, Waterface" on side B. So that's another indication of an original. Also, another thing, another legend, not really legend, it's actually true. There's another version of this album. Excuse me. David Briggs, the producer, along with Neil, they recorded this album. And as far as David Briggs was concerned, it was done. It was perfect. There was in-between song chatter. It was really much more of a concept. The mix and the recordings, just so much more in your face. So I'm told. I've never heard it. I don't think anybody else has really either. Besides Neil's inner circle, obviously. But that, as far as David Briggs was concerned, is the real Tonight's Tonight. Neil took Tonight's Tonight, polished it all up, added some other things to it, and put it out. And Briggs wasn't happy with that. And the story is, for years, David Briggs walked around with a copy, a cassette of the real Tonight's Tonight. And Neil has said that someday it will come out, so hopefully with the next archive set, he'll put it out. I'd like to see a reissue on vinyl, the original Tonight's Tonight, the real thing. But a reissue of this would be awesome too. Again, one of my favorite albums, and it's just fantastic. I do, like I said, I have two originals. The other original, I mean, it's the same kind of thing, just without the insert, you know. And then I have I want to say it's a definitely more recent European press with a shiny cover. And there's no insert. The sleeve is just white, and it has this multicolored Reprise label, green and orange. I would think it was like European, but it's not. It doesn't really say. But yeah, again, Tonight's Tonight, great album. A must-have in any collection, any rock and roll collection. Definitely any Neil collection should have Tonight's Tonight. So yeah, I guess that's basically it. great songs throughout. I mean, they're just examples of, I mean, if you really listen, you could tell how kind of loaded the band got. I mean, they drink and party until it was late at night, and then they would go and play and record. Um, and that was their way of kind of sending like a send off for Danny Whitten and Bruce Berry. So, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more I could say that I probably left out, but so there you go. Spotlighting Neil Young's Tonight's Tonight again, released in 1975, and if you come across a copy of that, pick it up. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care.